So we're on the final part of Another Day Out blanket, and this week, part 11, it's all about the border. So once you've sewn all your blocks together, as shown in the diagram in the pattern for this week, you can start to work this lovely garter stitch border that has a little eyelet pattern along the edge. And the way that you do this is you knit it separately to the blanket and then you'll sew it on. But when you get to the corners, you're going to have to bend your work to get around the corner of your blanket. So first of all, I'll show you how to do the straight part, and then I'll show you how to do the corner part. And this is for the option with the eyelet holes. And the second option is just a plain garter stitch, so I will show you that second. So the first row, after casting on 7 stitches, is to just knit each stitch. So you're just going to knit those 7 stitches. That's really nice and simple. And then when you get to the end, the next row is to knit 2, and then it says yarn forward twice. So we bring the yarn forward between the needles once, take it back to its original position, and then bring it around the needle again. So you've got 2 loops of yarn wrapped around your needle, and then you're just going to knit to the end. And so with that yarn round needle twice, you have made 2 extra loops in your knitting, so you now have 9 stitches. Okay, so next row is to knit to that double loop, and then when you reach it, you're going to knit into the first loop like a knit stitch into the front of it, and then in the second loop you are going to go into the back loop. Okay, into the back loop. If you knit into the front loop, you'll just get this really huge hole, so you'll notice if you accidentally do that. So don't forget to go into the back loop of that second stitch and then knit to the end. And that's created the little hole, the eyelet hole. And then you're going to cast off on the next row the first 2 stitches. So just a normal cast off 1 stitch, cast off the next stitch. It creates like a little picot edge, these little points, and then you're going to knit to the end. So you're back to 7 stitches, and you've completed the 4th of the 4 rows, and then you're back to the beginning, back to the first knit row, and then you repeat that all the way along until you can slightly stretch this border piece, and then it'll fit along the side of your blanket. So you don't want to overstretch it, just stretch it ever so slightly, and then you can measure it against your blanket and then work the corner. So now I'm going to show you how to create a corner in this lovely edging for the blanket. And we're going to maintain the pattern that's already set, but at the same time we're going to do some short row shaping, a little bit like we've done before. Although we're going to do the wrap and turn just in a slightly different way because we're doing garter stitch. So I'll show you how to do the stitches and the wrap and turn. So the first row is the knit row, so you should be ending after a row 4 when you had the 7 stitches, so you were ready to start row 1 again. So we're going to knit those 7 stitches, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Now the next row we are on the knit 2, yarn forward twice, 1 2, and then we're going to knit 3 stitches, 1 2 3, and now we are going to wrap the next stitch. So the best way to do this is to bring the yarn forward, slip the next stitch from the left needle to the right needle, take the yarn to the back, slip the stitch back to the left needle, turn your work, and then take the yarn to the back. Don't forget to give it a little tug so that you don't have a big gap between the needles. So give it a little tug and then knit to the end for row 3. 1. And then we also need to knit into the front and into the back of that double loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we've got the 9 stitches again. Now we are going to cast off 2 stitches. That's 1 stitch cast off, and then another stitch cast off, and that creates the little picot edge. And now we're going to knit 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to wrap and turn again. So yarn forward, slip the next stitch to the right needle, take the yarn back, slip the stitch back, turn your work, and then pop the yarn in the right place ready to knit the next row. And we are going to knit all the way to the end. Okay, we should have seven stitches again. You can already see that we're starting to bend the knitting. So on the next row we're back to the knit 2, sorry, and yarn forward twice. 1, 2. Knit 1 this time before you then wrap and turn. Remember to bring the yarn forward, slip the next stitch, take the yarn back, slip the stitch back, turn your work, and then take the yarn to the back, ready for the next row. And we are then going to knit to the end, working into the front and the back of the loop. And then we're going to cast off 2 stitches on row 8 to create the little picot edge. And then we're going to knit 3 again before we wrap and turn. 1, 2, 3, yarn forward, slip, yarn to the back, take the stitch back, turn your work, take the yarn to the back, and then we are going to knit again all the way to the end. Don't forget to give the yarn a little tug. And then we are on another loop row, so knit 2, yarn forward twice, knit 3 again, wrap and turn the next stitch, yarn forward, slip 1, yarn back, stitch back, turn your work, yarn to the back, and then we are going to knit to the end, working into the front and the back of that loop. And then cast off 2 stitches, and knit all the way to the end. And then that's it, that's the corner finished and complete, and you're ready then to start the next row back to the regular straight lace edging. Can you see how your knitting has bent around that corner